Here we go. Muscles, Magic the Gathering Live. My name is Bobby Maximus. I am the Muscles. I am armed with some cards, armed with a protein shake, hence the Muscles and Magic the Gathering. And tonight, we are going to talk about how I build a commander deck. I'm just getting my cameras set up. I want to take you behind the scenes to how a commander deck is built in the real world. Now, why is this important to me? There's a lot of content creators that when they do deck tech, they flash graphics on the screen. They go to Google, they Google what are the best Magic the Gathering cards for this commander. They go, they flash the cards on the screen without actually having the cards. And so every deck you see on deck tech videos being built, they're not built with real cards and they're only using the absolute optimal combinations of cards. That's not the real world. That's not how we build decks in the real world. If you're not playing with proxies and you can't just go out to a computer and print whatever out, you're not playing online and you can't just like put graphics on the screen, you have to build a deck with real actual cards. Now this is going to create some challenges. I have an absolutely massive Magic the Gathering collection. I have been collecting literally since 1994. I started in Unlimited. So you can imagine the size of collection that I have, all right? I have a lot of cards. I have a Black Lotus. I have a Time Walk. I have Mox Diamonds. I have Gaia's Cradles. I have Tolarian Academies. I have a bunch of Yawgmoth's Will. I have a bunch of cards. I have a massive collection. I have 57 full commander decks. But despite that, I struggle to build decks because I run out of cards and I have a bigger collection than anybody. So what do you do if you have to build a deck from scratch and you don't have access to all these A-list cards? Case in point, and I'm going to my Moxfield. By the way, my Moxfield username is Bobby Maximus. And while you're here, welcome to the show. Say hi in the comments. This is an interactive show. You can ask questions. We can talk. Like, I would love to get to know you. Magic the Gathering is one of my favorite things, and I love the people involved with it. But I'm looking at my 57 decks. Now, Yawgmoth's Will, we can agree we would put that in any black deck ever. The card is that good. So here I am building my new Sephiroth deck, currently under construction. It's taking a while because I don't have the cards. I'm trying to build it slowly over time, and this is how it goes, right? When I started building my commander decks, I used to have 40 complete sets. I had all kinds of 60-card decks. I had all kinds of binders. I had all kinds of... The first decks that I was building were just happening fast and furious because I had the pick of the litter when it came to cards. Deck 51, 52, 53. I'm starting to like really try to piece these together. But back to Yawgmoth's Will. I have 9 Yawgmoth's Wills. That's a lot of Yawgmoth's Wills. I don't know a lot of people who have 9 of those cards. But I've run out. And so now I'm building Sephiroth. And Sephiroth, by the way, a Yawgmoth's Will card would go hard in a Sephiroth deck. You almost need it because you're going to be sacrificing a lot of stuff. You want to bring stuff back from your graveyard. But guess what? I don't have a Yawgmoth's Will card. So what do I do? Like, how do I build a deck? And Matt Gill, thank you for that. Is it still quiet? It looks on my end that it is pretty good. My mic levels look good. By the way, thank you for that feedback. I love that. Appreciate the help. I am looking at my feedback right now, and it appears that my mic is pretty good. So let me know. How is it now, Matt? Did that improve it? It looks like I said, like my levels are good. Just want to make sure. But here we go. Pseudo Hux, hey man, love the videos. Your Satya deck was the first deck tech I built 3 months ago when I started playing. I love it. How does it work for you? It's one of my favorite decks. It's a really, really fun mechanic. I love the energy mechanic, so I'm glad to hear you got something out of it. So I'd love to hear your experience with it. And are there any improvements that you made? Are there any cards you've added that have really helped the deck? Because I don't play test a lot of my decks. I have 57 of them. Like, I can't possibly play with them all. And so if you've been playing it regularly, you might have some valuable information. And if you got some suggestions on how to improve it, I'm all ears. But back to the task at hand. I'm trying to build a Sephiroth deck. I don't have a Yawgmoth's Will anymore. I've already used 9 of them. I don't know if I just want to go out and buy another one just to put it in this deck to optimize it. A, it's a lot of money. B, I've already got 9 of them, right? So that is where deck tech becomes hard, because if you look at a lot of these Sephiroth deck techs online, every single one of them is going to say use a Mox Diamond, use a Grim Monolith, use a Yawgmoth's Will. And it's like, what if we don't have those cards? Matt Gill says he's been working on a Niv Mizzet switch to Perun as commander, in theory crafting Hinata Dawn Crown. Well, Matt, you're in luck. I actually just filmed yesterday my Niv Mizzet Perun deck. Would you like to see it on this show? If you want to, I will show that off in addition to my Sephiroth deck. That's actually the next deck we will go over in terms of our deck tech, like kind of how to, right? So, back to the kind of plan. I only have 9 Yawgmoth's Wills. I know that sounds excessive, but okay. Now, Mox Diamond. Let's look at Mox Diamond. Gotta spell it right. That would help. I only have 2 Mox Diamonds. Obviously, I'm not putting a Mox Diamond card in this deck. So, Matt, I will get, after this, I will get out the Niv Mizzet Perun deck for you, okay? So, I can't put a Mox Diamond in here because I don't just have a third one laying around. Demonic Tutor. I have 23 Demonic Tutors, but I'm out of them. So I can't put a Demonic Tutor in here. And in any world, in a black mono deck, you would have a Demonic Tutor, an Imperial Seal, and a Vampiric Tutor. I am all out of them. I have 23 Demonic Tutors. I have 18 Vampiric Tutors. And I have 4 Imperial Seals. That's a lot of the best tutors in the game, but I don't have any left for this deck. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think I've hammered that point home. How do you build a deck in the real world? All right? So the first thing that I want to do is, and I'm going to put it up here. The first thing I do is I look at my commander. Now I've got the Japanese version of Sephiroth here, but I'm going to pull up the English version so I can read it. When Sephiroth enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. If this is the 4th time this ability has resolved this turn, transform Sephiroth. What does it transform into? Sephiroth, the one-winged angel. As this creature transforms into Sephiroth, one-winged angel, you get an emblem. Whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life, you gain a life. Whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. Awesome. So, when we look at Sephiroth, his strengths, we need a way for 4 creatures to die each turn. So we're going to need some removal. We're going to need a lot of sack outlets and sack outlets that we can use again and again and again. And we're going to need a lot of like what I call fodder for sacrificing creatures, right? Like we are going to need something that's creating tokens that we can constantly sacrifice. Like Ophiomancer would be a great card for this. I don't know if you're familiar with Ophiomancer. I'm going to pull it up. So here is Ophiomancer. All right, kind of hard to see, but I'll read it to you. At the beginning of each upkeep, if you control no snakes, create a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch. So basically what you're going to do, Great White Productions, hello, you're constantly going to create these tokens for Sephiroth to sacrifice. Now I'm pulling out my Modern Horizons binder to see if I have an Ophiomancer, and I do not. I got my Modern Horizons 3 binder. It's one of the cards that I do not have. So that kind of sucks. I need to order an Ophiomancer. Now, lucky, an Ophiomancer, let's look up the price here. Actually, let me pull it back up here. I can get one for $2.03. So that's not like a Yawgmoth Swill, right? Like a Yawgmoth Swill, what do those go for right now? Like $200. I'm not just going to go buy one of those. That's a big purchase. Maybe I trade for it, maybe I whatever. But like an Ophiomancer, I can get for $2. So that's obviously going to be an include. But really what I do, the first thing I do when I look at building Sephiroth, I know I need a lot of sack outlet cards, and I'm going to need some cards to create some sack fodder. So I'm going to look through my bulk to see what I have. Now, I've already pre-selected some cards just to not waste your time. Blasphemous Edict. You may pay black mana rather than pay the spell's mana cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. So, you can get a really cheap casting cost for this. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. This is a great removal spell because it gets rid of the indestructible type thing, because people can sack indestructible creatures, right? It doesn't say destroy, but that will trigger Sephiroth immediately. So Blasphemous Edict, great choice. The Darkness Crystal. Great card. I've got the Japanese version of it, but I'm going to pull it up here. And it says, black spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Great card to put in the deck because you're reducing the casting cost of all your black cards, mono black. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile it, you gain 2 life. Great ability. And then you pay some mana and put target creature card exiled with the Darkness Crystal onto the battlefield, tapped under your control with 2 additional 1/1 counters. Awesome, because you can also sack it to trigger Sephiroth. So great include. Fits the theme. Black Market Connections. This is honestly one of those cards that's good in any black deck ever. And I have a few of those, right? Black Market Connections, Swiftfoot Boots. What else is good in it? Lightning Greaves, good in any deck ever. Like, there are certain cards that you can put in any deck ever that frankly are just staples, all right? We have Sword of Light and Shadow. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you gain 3 life and you may return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. The one weakness with Sephiroth is you're constantly sacking your things. You got to sack like 4 a turn. And then if someone takes care of your commander, you got to do it again. So you want to be able to get stuff back from your graveyard. Hence why I was going on and on about Yawgmoth Swill, so I can get it back, right? So really what I'm doing is I'm looking for cards that build around the commander. I got a Swamp. Obviously, I have Swamps. Dark Confident, card draw advantage, massive. All right. A couple of things that I'm looking for when I build a commander deck. Mana Ramp, card draw advantage, and tutors. You have those, and you keep the mana value of the deck low. If anyone needs a refresher on mana value, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to. But that's where you will need. Whoa, I almost choked. Those three things in mana value, keep that low, your deck's going to be good. Cursed Marauder. When a Cursed Marauder enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. Well, if you're playing a 4-player game, there's 4 sacrifices to trigger Sephiroth. So a really good card to pair with Sephiroth. Deadly Dispute. You can sack a creature, and super useful card in any black deck ever. Gate Phyrexia. A sack outlet. Awesome card. Sir Conrad the Grim. Another card with a lot of synergy. So really what I'm doing is I'm picking cards with a lot of synergy with Sephiroth. Does that make sense to everybody? And I'm looking through the cards I actually have. Here's another one. Eldrazi Monument. At the beginning of your upkeep, sack a creature. I want to do everything I can to trigger Sephiroth. And I'm actually overloading this with sacrifices, right? Snuff Out, great removal spell. Bolus's Citadel, Game Changer. You can never go wrong with Game Changers in a deck unless you're trying to stay in bracket 2. I don't build like that. I want to make my decks as competitive as possible. Insatiable Avarice, great budget tutors. I don't have any Demonics left. I don't have any Vampirics left. I don't have any Imperial Seals left. What is a budget tutor that I can use that really, really works well? Insatiable Avarice. Toxic Deluge, great way to kill a bunch of creatures. Praetor's Grasp. Grief. Reprocess, sacrifice any number of artifacts, creatures, and or lands. Triggers Sephiroth immediately. Yawgmoth's Bargain. Recurring Nightmare. City of Shadows, Grave Pact, Soul Ring, Drivnod, Carnage, Dominus. And I have a Gristlebrand. I play with banned cards. Don't at me about it. Soul Ring is better than a Mana Crypt. Aristic Study is better than a Hull Breacher. A Narset is better than a Hull Breacher. So don't at me about your banned list. I don't buy it. So, how do I actually go about building the deck before I go to Niv Mizzet and show a complete deck off for our hero of the live, Matt Gill? So, I keep a lot of my bulk cards. I keep a lot of my bulk rares, and I keep a lot of my bulk commons. The reason I do that, and I did a whole finance episode on this, it's on the channel, I don't think it's worth it to trade in your bulk, to trade in your cards. That's never done well for me. When I trade stuff in, I always end up having stuff that I need to buy later. All right? So, I have a bunch of those big white boxes of my bulk commons and uncommons. They're all organized by set. Modern Horizons 3, Tarkir, Kaladesh, Dominaria. I have them organized by set. So if I want to go look for a card, I can look it up online, figure out what set the version I want is, and go see if I have a common or uncommon. Now, I do the same thing with my bulk rares. Now, bulk rares go for about 1,000 bulk rares for $100, but you're probably going to use them. If you're building a good deck, they're going to be filled with more rares and mythics than not, right? You want good cards. Now, that doesn't mean that you're only going to use rares and mythics, because a card like Deadly Dispute, a Cursed Marauder, are incredible cards, and they're essentially commons and uncommons, right? In fact, I think both of these are commons, but you're going to use them again and again and again. So it doesn't mean they're always better, but let's look how many cards I have in the Sephiroth deck so far, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 cards. Out of 27, how much are rare or mythic rares? 1, 2, 3, 4. Reserved list, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 22 out of 27 are rares or mythic rares, essentially. a lot of your deck's going to be those. So why trade them in? Like, honestly, 1,000 cards for $100, it's just not worth it. Because at some point, if I'm building enough commander decks, I'm going to need them. So I'm going to pull out my black cards. And these are like my bulk black cards. And I'm going to see what I can use that fits my deck, right? Like what can help. And actually, Skemfar Avenger might. Whenever another non-token elf or berserker you control dies, you draw a card and lose a life. With Sephiroth, I'm going to be drawing a lot of cards, right? And even the life loss, not even worried about it. Why? Because I have 40 life in a game of Commander, and card draws everything. Look at this, Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler would work. You can cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard, so I can sack it, bring it back, sack it, bring it back, sack it, bring it back, sack it, bring it back. Great card. So I'm able to look through, oh, there's a really good one for this deck. Iara, First of Locthwain. That's actually the first example of something that's going to make the cut. Whenever Iara, First of Locthwain, or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain a life. So it fits the Sephiroth theme, and it's a sack outlet to draw a card. Awesome for Sephiroth, right? So by having these big boxes of all my bulk, and then having these smaller boxes, so this is my stack of bulk rares for black, I can look through and maybe have a chance to put together a pretty damn good budget deck. Does that make sense to everybody, what I'm talking about? So, without going through every single card I have, let's start to look at what we could have. And I've loaded these towards the top because I did some pre-production for this show. The Viscera Seer. Sacrifice a creature, scry 1. Awesome card for a Sephiroth deck. I actually got that from my bulk pile, by the way, like my bulk normal pile. Gravecrawler, another one, right? Now I'm going to need some zombies in my deck to make Gravecrawler work, but I can keep bringing it back from the graveyard. Bloodghast. This creature can't block. This creature has haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life. And landfall. When you land enters, you land your control entries, you can bring this card from the graveyard to the battlefield. So again, I can sack it, bring it back, sack it, bring it back, sack it, bring it back. Super important for a Sephiroth deck because I'm going to run out of creatures to sack at some point. All right? Again, you got to sacrifice. Well, you got to make 4 creatures die a turn to make this work. So the Bloodghast is going to work really, really well. By the way, Great White Productions, Lake of the Dead would be awesome. Bastion of Remembrance. When Bastion of Remembrance enters, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever a creature control dies, each opponent loses life, you gain a life. Awesome card, and you get some sack fodder. Mirkwood Bats. I don't have a lot of tokens in this deck yet, so I probably won't put Mirkwood Bats in, but it's a potential. Kirik, Son of Yawgmoth, basically good in any black card, black deck ever. Here's that Iara, First of Locthwain that I was talking about, right? Great card, nicer version, so I'll probably put that in. Here is a great one that I wouldn't have even considered, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have even thought about this if I didn't come across it in my bulk rares. Endrick Sar, Master Breeder. Whenever you play a creature spell, put X 1/1 black throw creature tokens into play where X is that spell's converted mana cost. When you control 7 or more throws, create Endrick Sar, Master Breeder. Master Breeder. Sacrifice it. So when you control 7 or more throws, sacrifice Endrick Sar, Master Breeder. But here's the deal. If I'm sacking these throws constantly, I'm probably never going to have to sacrifice this guy. So Ophiomancer is great, but Endrick Sar is another great card. Would there be a world where you would go Lurrus the Dream Den as Commander with Sephiroth in the deck? Or is that too much, too clunky? I think it's a little too clunky. That can be really, really powerful, but I want to really, really streamline this to take advantage of Sephiroth. Interesting idea, though. But I think for this, I want to keep it a lot more streamlined. Marionette Apprentice. Fabricate 1. And whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses life. Great card. Morbid Opportunist. Whenever one or more other creatures die, draw a card. Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Great card, but I also need Exquisite Blood to create the unlimited combo, and I don't have an Exquisite Blood. I need one, so that might be the one I'm going to buy. So basically what I'm going to do in the real world, look through all my bulk, look through all my bulk rares, and I'm going to figure out what cards really, really fit in the deck. From there, I kind of got to have an overarching idea about what bracket I want the deck to be. I don't pay attention to the bracket system. I just want to build the decks to be as good as possible. I build them for collection. If all my decks are bracket 4, I'd be happy with that. But you're only allowed so many game changers, right, in the bracket, so something you might have to pay attention to. If I have a Blood Moon, I'm probably sticking it in the mono red deck, even though it's bumping it to a 4. But that might be something you want to consider because you might not want to build a bracket 4. Your pod might only play bracket 2. My pod plays high level, no banned list, cutthroat competitive Magic. And honestly, I don't really care if I win or lose. Like I'm there to have fun, and I think competitive games with awesome card combos are fun. So after that, then I'm going to decide what my budget is and what cards I'm going to buy. When I buy cards, I buy cards that are useful in any deck ever. So if I'm looking at buying a card for the Sephiroth deck, I'm much more likely to buy a Demonic Tutor than I am, say, a Lake of the Dead or some weird sack outlet, because I can use a Demonic Tutor in any black deck ever. So that's where I prefer to put my money. Or even better than that, reserve list cards that I know are going to hold their value or I can use in any deck ever. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. So then I'm going to build my deck. So I'm going to keep these aside. The Sephiroth deck is a work in progress. I'm going to start entering that into the computer tonight. So stay tuned. And yeah, that's going to be Sephiroth. Now, we are at 27 minutes on the live. I got about 15 minutes left. Because I promised my kids I would play some games with them. But, Matt Gill, I promised you that we would go over my Niv Mizzet deck. So let's take a look. And it is Niv Mizzet Perun. Let's see. Oh, the Wizards of Dark Smoke. Let's see. Here we go. Let's look over this, Matt. Matt, are you excited? This is for you, my man. Okay. Niv Mizzet Perun for my man, Matt Gill. Mitchell Ludwig, any tips for Sauron the Dark Lord? I do. I have a Sauron the Dark Lord deck. If you go to my Mox field and take a look, it's pretty good. It's, by the way, it's all Lord of the Rings themed, so it's pretty cool. I want to stick to the Niv Mizzet deck right now, but if you go to my, it's called the March of Mordor. Sorry, I did not build one on Sauron the Dark Lord. I built one on Sauron Lord of the Rings, so I actually will answer your question. Sauron the Dark Lord. Sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature for ward. So the first thing I want to do is I want to fill it with legendary creatures. All right, that's number one. Because I want that ward, I want that commander to stay on the table. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass orcs 1. And whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand if you do draw 4 cards. So looking at this card, the first thing I'm going to want to do is have a lot of legendary creatures. The second thing is I want some orc support. So I want to get some like orc cards. And Orcish Bowmasters would be a great card for this. Unfortunately, there's not enough orcs in Lord of the Rings. All right, an army you control. I might consider putting some of those zombie armies in here. There's those cards that you can amass zombies 1. I might consider some of those. And then the discard thing, because you're going to discard your hand. I'm going to want some stuff to get stuff back from the graveyard. So a lot of graveyard recursion. If I could do those things like the Liliana Planeswalkers that you can pull stuff from the graveyard, that would really, really help. Maskwood Nexus is a big one too, because then it turns everything into orcs. So yeah, Mitchell, Maskwood Nexus would be great. I actually, if I was going to do this, I'd do a lot of legendary creatures mixed with a bit of like an orc tribal feel. Okay? My deck is based on Sauron Lord of the Rings, but have a look if you want to see some other cards. But now let's talk Niv Mizzet, all right? Pulling up my deck right now. My deck is worth $647. It's a bracket 4 because it's got 6 game changers, and the mana value is 191. That's the other thing. I like keeping the mana value of decks low. Now, what is mana value? It's all these symbols on the cards added together. If your deck's under 200, it's going to move fast and furious. A lot of these big-time CEDH decks, they're actually like, I say under 200 to make a deck fast and furious. Those are like 138, 139, 140. Like, this is why they're winning on turn 2 and 3. If you have a massive mana value deck, you're in it for the long haul. It's a grinder, okay? But in today's meta, if you will, the late game is game 7, 8. Not game 7, 8, turn 7 and 8. So if your deck doesn't move fast enough, you're always going to be left behind. So I'm trying to keep the mana value of the deck low. So let's take a look at some of the cards I included and why in Niv Mizzet Perun. You ready, Matt Gill? All right, so this spell can't be countered. That's great because I'm going to get my commander out. Flying. Whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet Perun deals 1 damage to any target. So you know what I want? A lot of card draw in this deck. Card draw central. And whenever a player casts an instant, you draw a card. So I want a lot of card draw, a lot of instants, and sorceries. So in this deck, I have 9 sorceries, 16 instants. Awesome. And I have a lot of cards that favor card draw. So let's look. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Great card. And a bargain. There was a day this card was worth well over $100. You can get this for like 13 now. Look at the second ability. Draw 3 cards. That's 3 damage to any target. Great include for this. Teferi, Master of Time. You may activate loyalties at Teferi, Master of Time on any player's turn. Anytime you can cast an instant. Draw a card, discard a card. Awesome for Niv Mizzet. And this works so fast, I'm probably going to get 2 extra turns. Dak Faden. Target player, me, draws 2 cards, discards 2 cards. Awesome for a Niv Mizzet deck. And I can steal somebody's artifacts. You want to deal with an indestructible artifact like the One Ring? Steal it with Dak Faden. Temporal Pilgrim. Draw a card. And create a 2/2 blue spirit creature token with vigilance. And whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. There's so much card draw in this deck, it's going to go bonkers. Tons of synergy. Joyra, Weatherlight Captain. Whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. And we got a lot of legendary creatures and artifacts in this deck. This card right here, if you have artifacts or legendary creatures, this card is a monster. Super underrated because it's only worth $5, right? But honestly, it is unreal for card draw. Overall, when I build commander decks, I look at that overall mana value. I'm trying to keep it low. And I want card draw, mana ramp, tutors. I pay attention to those 4 things in conjunction. Chances are I'm going to win. Laboratory Maniac. If you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Win condition. I'm going to draw through so many cards here. This is an alternate win condition. Vivi. Just an insanely hyped up, powerful card with a super low mana value. I really, really like powerful cards with low mana values. One of the ways that I tune my decks is I look to get lower mana value cards that are more powerful and put them in my deck. It's why Esper Sentinel's elite. I know it's banned, but it's why Dockside Distortionist is elite. It's why Deathrite Shaman is elite. Like these 1 and 2 drops that are just super powerful, like they go in any deck ever. Archmage Emeritus. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. I got a lot of instants and sorceries. Card draw. Hull Breacher. I play with banned cards. You might not. But if you don't like the Hull Breacher, there are plenty of substitutions you can make. If an opponent would draw a card, except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. Dockside Extortionist, same category as the Hull Breacher. Snapcaster Mage. I want to cast a lot of instants and sorceries. I can get them back from my graveyard and super low casting cost. Matt, yeah, okay, so you're putting an emphasis on burn damage, not much on card draw. Card draw will lead to burn damage. Focus on card draw. Vivi is not going to get banned. They can't. It's a financial decision. The banned list, by the way, is total nonsense and hypocrisy. They say they want to protect the goodness of the game. It's not financially motivated, but it is 100%. A Soul Ring's better than a Mana Crypt. A Mana Crypt's banned because it's an expensive card. And people cry that they don't have one. They will not ban Vivi because of Final Fantasy. So they say they're protecting the game, but they're not going to ban Vivi for financial reasons. The banned list is solely motivated by punishing people who have money or collectors who want to buy expensive cards. Just saying. Here's another card you need, Spellseeker. It is a tutor for an instant or sorcery card, Matt. You taking notes? Here's one, Matt. Super low casting cost and super useful. The Delver of Secrets. You have a lot of instants or sorceries. This is going to transform into Insectal Aberration. You might have a 3/2 flying on turn 1, Matt. No joke. The Delver of Secrets. Another one that is super, super useful. Malevolent Hermit. Useful in a lot of CEDH decks. Get a Malevolent Hermit in here. This is one of those cards that can go in any blue deck ever. And yeah, Charles, it's unfortunate Mana Crypt took a hit, but people cry that people have good cards. You know, it was funny. I was in LGS not long ago. A dude was complaining about $5 cards. How a $5 card was too expensive. But I watched him spend $50 in DoorDash. But then I'm going to get punished for playing with a Mana Crypt? Like, honestly, the banned list is totally hypocritical. In almost any situation, you'd rather have a Soul Ring than a Mana Crypt. That's fact. I would argue that a Narset is a way worse and more oppressive card than a Hull Breacher. But Narset's not a problem because it was cheap. And so the banned list, it's hypocritical and it punishes players for having good cards. I want the banned list abolished. I'll be clear on that. It doesn't make any sense. There's too many hypocrisies, all right? Yeah, Matt, it's called the Wizards of Dark Smoke on my thing, but Malevolent Hermit. Haughty Djinn, another great card. You want a lot of instants and sorceries in your Niv Mizzet deck. Pumps this guy through the roof. Ancient Silver Dragon. High casting cost, but you can draw a ton of cards. Imagine how this works. Let's take a look. Where are my dice? You know, I should have a D20 around here. Oh, I do. I always have a D20. So let's look at the Ancient Silver Dragon and how this synergizes with Niv Mizzet. Whenever Ancient Silver Dragon deals combat damage to a player, roll a D20. We just rolled a 3. Not a very good roll. Let's pretend we didn't see that. A 4, an 8. Draw cards equal to the result. 8, that means 8 damage to an opponent. But the biggest reason this card is in here, no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. So if you're going to play Niv Mizzet by having a bunch of draw cards, you need stuff with no maximum hand size. We have a Cryptic Command. We have an Izzet Charm. Again, card draw. By the way, this last feature on Cryptic Command is a card draw. Blue Sun Zenith, card draw. 3 steps ahead, card draw. Counterspell, classic card that goes in any deck ever. Mind Spring, card draw. I maximize card draw because of Niv Mizzet. Matt, get a lot of card draw cards. Trust me, you will wreck the table. Solve the equation. Great tutor. Tutors are massive. You want to talk about a card draw card? Time Spiral. Remove Time Spiral from the game. Each player shuffles his or her graveyard and hand into her library, then draws 7 cards. Man! 7 damage instantly to any target. Huge. Mystical Tutor. Pact of Negation. Flare of Denial. We want a lot of counters in a blue deck. Drowning Dreams. Draw a lot of cards. Lightning Bolt. Just a great burn damage card and super useful for removal or damage. Prismari Command. Card draw again. A nice counter, a nice counter, a nice counter. Flame of Anur, card draw. Gamble, another tutor. We got a lot of tutors in this deck. Stock Up. Super useful card from Ether Drift. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand. The rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Massive. Gitaxian Probe. I love looking at people's hands. And it's got card draw. But if I can figure out what you're going to do, massive advantage in Commander. Careful Study, card draw. Slimer's Feast, card draw. Teferi's Aegis Insight, card draw. Case of the Ransacked Lab, Murders of Karlov Manor, super underrated set. Instant and Sorcery's Cast Reducer. Listen, there's 2 ways to mana ramp. You can mana ramp traditionally with like a Birds of Paradise, a Soul Ring, a Arcane Signet, Finhorn Elves, or reduce the casting costs of your instants. And by the way, a little trick that a lot of people don't realize, that can pay for X. So if you have enough of these type of cards out and you decide to use something like the Mind Spring, you can draw a ton of cards. Artist Talents, cost reducer. Underworld Breach, get stuff back from the graveyard. Protect your commander. Here's another big one. No maximum hand size. I'm going to say the Ancient Silver Dragon, the Thought Vessel, and the Reliquary Tower are your best friends. Isochron Scepter, Talisman, Soul Ring, Command Tower. We got a bunch of lands here. I'm going to speed through those because I got a lot of basics. When I have 2 colors, I got basic lands, but Reliquary Tower, Matt. Okay. Brow, Chief of Compliance. Casting cost reducer for instants. Here's a really cool card for Murders at Karlov Manor. Look at Melik. Because every time we cast an instant or sorcery, we draw a card, that's going to create that burn damage. Melik, Reforged, Researcher's Power, and Toughness are each equal to twice the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. This is going to get monstrous in this deck. Higher casting costs than I would like, but really cool card. I wanted to feature it. The first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn costs 3 less to cast. You're playing a lot of stuff for free at that point. Massive one in this deck. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you draw 2 cards and do 2 damage to any target. Awesome. We have a Niv Mizzet Visionary. No maximum hand size. And whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, like this, you draw that many cards. You see how that works? If you draw 7 cards and do 7 damage, you draw 7 more cards. Awesome. Talran the Sky Summoner, just to get a bunch of these 2/2 blue drakes on the field. Niv Mizzet the Firemind. You can force yourself to draw a card, and then he's going to do a damage to a target, and then he's going to do a damage to a target. My only complaint about the Niv Mizzets is their high casting cost. I wish they were a little lower. Chasm Skulker. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. Goblin Electromancer. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. The Locust God. Huge. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste, and you can force yourself to draw a card. Stormcatch Mentor. Casting cost reducer. Body of Knowledge. No maximum hand size. This one. So mean. Core Augur, Jin Gitaxis. At the beginning of your end step, draw 7 cards. Wow. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. This wrecks the entire table. Casting cost at 10. I generally stay away from high casting cost cards in this case, it is worth it. So, sorry, just had to check on my kiddos, but there we go. Does that go infinite, or am I thinking of something else? Which one goes infinite? Tell me the combo. But Core Augur, big casting cost, but worth it for this. Generally, when you're talking about keeping the mana value of the cards low, and sorry, I had to check on my kids, guys. I do have a life. I do got to be a good dad. They're out playing. I just wanted to make sure they were good with the neighbors. But I try to not have so many high casting cost cards. Now, some people play with curve, right? Where you stack your cards up. I think it gets too confusing. What I try to do is just look at the total mana value, because if the total mana value is super low, no, don't use Progress Tyrant, Matt Gill. I took that out of my deck. Use Core Augur. Way better for this deck. Progress Tyrant's not terrible, but this is better. Well, let's look. Perun and Visionary. Let's see. Let's talk this out. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. Whenever you draw a card, Perun deals 1 damage to any target. So, if I draw a card, and this does 1 damage to a target, I draw a card. Whenever I draw a card, it deals 1 damage. Whenever I deal 1 damage, yeah, I think it does go infinite. Who knew? I'm going to actually double check that. I think it does. Good call out. I didn't even realize that. Man, I am a good deck builder. Yep, near infinite damage, infinite card draw, infinite draw triggers. You just have to have a way to draw a card. Nice call. Insane. All right, see? There we go. Focus on card draw. But get rid of the Progress Tyrant. Now, I would have had both this and the Progress Tyrant, but we're starting to get into too many high casting cost things. And I've already got a lot in this deck. Like, honestly, I've got a 10, I've got a 6, I 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 got a 5. Like, it's starting to get too high. I managed to keep the mana value of the deck relatively low with a bunch of ones, like a Taxon Probe, a Stock Up, a Gamble, like a lot of these little instants. But the one weakness with this deck is it's going to take a minute to really, really go off, right? So, because, first of all, look for my commander again, Niv Mizzet. For Niv Mizzet, it's going to be hard to get that on the battlefield. Like, I'm not getting that out turn 1, right? And it's going to take me a long time to lock and load all my other things. So if I have one complaint about this deck, the casting costs are a little high. That said, the mana value, I managed to get it down to 191. But my most competitive decks, the ones that move really fast, like, actually, let's talk about it. You ever see a Crinkle Goblin deck? A Crinkle Goblin deck runs fools over, all right? My Crinkle Goblin deck, it's called Jareth's Army. Jareth, being the master of the Labyrinth and the Goblin King, the mana value comparatively for that is 163. Do you have any idea how fast that moves compared to this? This deck can't hang. Because with the Krenko deck, it's all over you before you have a chance to do anything. This might really work at a table where there's 4 players, people aren't picking on you, and you're getting into turns 6, 7, 8. Now, my Storm deck, the Wicked Tempest. That one, the mana value of that deck, 157. That one is all over you before you have a chance to move either. My Muldrotha deck, that one's called the Tower of Bones. 155. Like, these are elite level speed decks. My An-One, the Rune Thief, that's another insane deck. It's called the Rogues Gallery. It's actually my son's deck. 177 moves really fast, faster than Niv Mizzet Brood. That's the one weakness. Yeah, I got to fix my creatures, Matt Gill. I saw a list that ran Dragon's Approach to Turbo at the Niv Mizzets, but I didn't like it that much. Yeah, you just need ways to get these out. You know what I could add to this? A Quicksilver Amulet. It's a way to cheat stuff out. You know, maybe like cheat the cost a little bit. That might be a thing I would consider including. Oh, a couple more cards. Expressive Innovation, useful in any Izzet deck ever. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand. Put one of them on the bottom of your library. And exile one of them. You may play the exiled card this turn. You're going to exile the land because you can play it for free. You're going to put a card in your hand, one on the bottom. Awesome. And then I have Sink into Stupor. Great card. At any rate, for something like the Niv Mizzet deck, a little high casting cost for a lot of these creatures. All right. Max, I don't have an Ophidian Eye. Let me look that up, actually. And frankly, guys, there's a lot of cards I don't know off the top of my head. Really good card. From Time Spiral, I could use one of those. That would be an include, and it's a low casting cost. I would actually love that card, because how I plan on improving this deck. All right, here's what I need to do to improve this deck. I'd like to get the total mana value of the deck in the 170s. So that's one that might get cut. I'm going to put all the high casting cost stuff up. See what else? Let me see. Let me look. Okay. Guys, what I'm doing right now is getting all the high casting cost stuff. And a lot of my fastest decks, I don't have a ton of high casting cost stuff, right? But basically, I'm taking all the stuff at 5 and over because it's going to take me a while to get through. I don't like this many cards with 5 or over. Like, really, in a perfect world, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Someone mentioned Curiosity. Yeah, casting cost of 1. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to opponent, you may draw a card. Unreal. I need that one. Ophidian Eye. Great card, but I actually think Curiosity might be better because it's only a casting cost of 1. I mean, I know it has flash, but it's great. So here's the deal. If I take out like a... Now I got to decide which of these to move, right? I have too many high casting cost creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I probably want like only 5 of these. So if my total mana value is 191, and let's say I took out the Ancient Silver Dragon's not going anywhere because I need the maximum hand size. But if I dropped by 8, 18, 24, 30, if I could drop 4 cards, actually 30, if I could drop 35 mana value and say I could put back 5 cards that were 1 drops, like Curiosity, I'm now going to get the mana value of this deck from 191 to 161. And it's going to move way faster. People want to put all the big casting cost cards in a deck because they're just really cool. But again, I couldn't put both Jin-Gitaxias in it. 200 is like kind of a hard cutoff for me. I have some decks that are over 200 because they're gimmicky decks, but that's kind of a hard cutoff in general. I got to get this down if I want it to be more competitive. I want to see if I have a Curiosity, actually. I'll make that change right now. Can someone explain to me, Max, why Ophidian Eye is better than Curiosity? They're both enchantments. Enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Okay. So the Ophidian Eye, same thing. It's flash. So I suppose you could like attach it to an unblocked attacker. Let's see what the internet says. The flash is huge, but it's supply and demand. Right? So, Curiosity. Let's see if I have one, because I'll put that in this deck. I'll take out one of these big ones right now to get this down. Curiosity. Actually, let me go to Card Kingdom. I actually like using them as a source. Okay. So, Wilds of Eldraine, Innistrad, Exodus, Masters 25, Jumpstart. I probably don't have one. 8th edition. I need to get one. Like, that would be massive. Like, genuinely massive. Let me see if I have one in my deck list, because I might have used it in another deck, but man. Do not have one. Ugh! Double ugh! I've seen people run Omnis Seas also to bring out a bunch of 8/8s. Yep. Omniscience works. But anyway, that's kind of how I would go about. Check out this. Tolarian Academy. But this is how I would go about fixing this deck. How many artifacts do I have in the Wizards of Darksmoke? Wonder if we could make use of a random Tolarian Academy. I only have 5 artifacts. Never mind. Scratch that. Let's see if I can find a Curiosity. I don't know if I have one, guys, but I'll make that change right now. But yeah, these low casting cost cards, they really, really work. I wanted to put an Acid Rain in here too, just to mess with Forest players. That would be kind of fun. Green players. I have a Tinker. I actually have a lot of Tinkers. I need it to be unbanned. I'd love it. Great card. Okay, I'm looking at my good blue cards. We have a Show and Tell. That's not a bad card to like cheat stuff out. Tinker, 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 Hull Breacher, Hull Breacher. No. I don't think I'm going to have a Curiosity. Ugh. There's one more place I can check, guys. Dr. Clown, how are you? All right. One more chance, guys. We'll look for a curiosity. Look through my blue. If I have one, I will scream. Hopefully I have like a secret layer version of it. Because there was one. Condescend, Trophy Mage, no. Portent, Twisted Image, Ether Eyes, Consider. That's actually not a bad card either. It's just a draw card. But like that could be one that I could go for like one of these big ones, right? Ooh, that could go Harbinger of the Seas. Because that kind of messes other people up. Archmage's Charm, that could work. The Brazen Borrower, that's a great... So that's kind of like the changes I would make. You know what I mean? Low casting cost stuff for the deck that get rid of some of the higher casting costs things. Hey, Jaxie. Unrelated. Have any thoughts on Gandalf the Secret Fire? I can't remember off the top of my head what Gandalf of the Secret Fire does, so I can't help, but I will do some research on that for you. Matt Gill, yeah, I see the direction I want to go down with this deck. A lot of lists I've seen run a lot of the cards that deal 1 or 2 to each opponent when you cast non-creature spell. Yeah, I would go card draw. Are you on to the card draw thing, Matt Gill? It's really, really good. I'm looking for a Consider. Jaxie, do you have a Consider? No, sorry, not a Consider, a Curiosity.
What's that?
This could actually be good too, Visions of Beyond. It's a card I need for my Niv Mizzet deck.
What does it look like?
It says Curiosity on it. But like there's a bunch of different cards with different art. If you have one, I will trade you for it, okay? Preordained could be one. Monstrosity of the Lake. Nope. Refute could be one. Opt. That's a draw card one. So you see all these low casting cost ones? They could all work. Like genuinely. But now I got to decide which one of these is the least powerful. But if I can get Curiosity is a no-brainer. If I have that, I will put it in and we'll figure out what to cut. Thank you for that, by the way. This live was worth it just for that. No. Oh, I had a Curiosity Crafter. No Curiosity. Yeah, Matt. Card draw. So anyway, that's kind of like what I'm looking at doing. So maybe Harbinger of the Seas would be better. Like Harbinger of the Seas might be better than Melek. Melek is really good, but it might be better. I don't know if I need Niv Mizzet, the Firemind. I might be able to get rid of that. I like the card draw thing, but again, you want to reduce the casting cost of the deck. So that's basically, I'm actually going to leave the Harbinger of the Seas out because that might win. But that and a Curiosity, get this casting costs down to like what? 181? Now the deck's moving even better. So that's kind of how I build decks. Hopefully that helps. At any rate, everybody, I promised my best buddies in the world, Jaximus Maximus, and the one, they're not on screen right now, they're right down here, the one known as Hunter Blade. Hunter, you got to say it super loud. Who were you named after? Blade who? He's named after Blade the Vampire Hunter. All right? So, don't need it, but thank you. He just showed me a Stone Rain. Super cool. At any rate, there is how I deck tech. I need a Curiosity, an Ophidian Eye, replace a couple cards, go down to mana value. The Niv Mizzet deck is going to get even better. I'm going to put that on my wish list. But that's how we deck tech, everybody. Thank you for coming by to Muscles and Magic the Gathering. This was awesome tonight. Lively. A lot of good comments. stay tuned for next week. I will go live next Wednesday night. Again, my Moxfield is at Bobby Maximus. Go check out all my decks. Matt, glad I could help. And yeah, I wish I had a curiosity. I'm kind of bummed I don't. I got to find one. I got to track one down. Everyone, thank you. If there are any decks you want me to review next Wednesday live, let me know. I'm happy to go over them. Yeah, there we go. Muscles, Magic